Welcome to the Dynamics of Everyday Life, where we demystify some tricky concepts and get to know ourselves a little bit better. Welcome back to the show. At the moment, I've been going back through a lot of the episodes ideas that I wrote down a while ago to see what speaks to me. I find it really interesting that some I'm still drawn to, and others I look at and think, I've absolutely no idea what I was thinking about when I made that note. I know in podcast land we are supposed to batch our episodes, and whilst that is an excellent time management idea, there are quite a few times when I'd rather just do an episode that stands out to me there and then. You know, a bit like last week's Lunch with Pam and Derek, and that kind of wrote itself. So, today's topic wasn't actually written down as "There's a hole in my bucket, dear Liza." It was something far more wordy and not really very exciting as a title, which is probably why I've not come round to planning and recording it. When I was reading through my ideas, I read the boring title, I can't even remember what it is now, and then almost heard the song in my head, "There's a hole in my bucket, dear Liza," which I then realised fits perfectly. I asked my ChatGPT assistant, James, no surprise with the name there, although I guess I could have called him Stan or Matteo. So I asked James to give me the whole lyrics, just in case I was making things fit where I wanted them to, which is possible. However, what I found was a rich repository of psychodynamic references. How marvellous. I'm not going to go through the song, let alone sing it. That's definitely not what you've tuned into this podcast for. But the general gist of it is that Henry has a hole in his bucket and is asking Liza how to fix it. And every time she gives him a suggestion of how to sort it out, he's got a reason why not to. I mean, by the end of this song, I'm surprised Henry hasn't been punched. Liza is beyond patient with him. Or maybe there's something else going on. So going back to what I was talking about to start with, about the topics, I've been asked a few times to visit various topics. This is actually true. It's not one of those social media posts. A question that I keep being asked is, no, you haven't been. This is clearly part of your marketing strategy, and it's not very subtle. You were told to do this on a webinar somewhere, like the "I'm looking for 2 people who want to scale their business" line of attack too. I am not falling for it. However, I have had several people ask me to talk about narcissism. A friend recently said to me, it's an epidemic, and it can feel that way. And it's a big topic. There's a lot to it. So today, we're going to look at one part of narcissism, the bit that's like a bucket with a hole in it. Now, this type of narcissism isn't necessarily showy or grandiose, although it can be. What it definitely is, in any form, is exhausting for everyone else around it. How are we going to feel if we keep pouring our energy into someone else that will never be able to feel full because of their unmet needs, i.e., the hole in their bucket? Resentful? Exhausted? Angry? Frustrated? Or unsure if we're the problem? Because maybe it's our responsibility to fix the leak. Spoiler alert, it's not. Narcissism has many different explanations, and one way that we can view it is as a defence mechanism. It isn't just about being vain, although it really can feel that way. It's about defending against those difficult feelings that we don't want, particularly anxiety. Think about ones that we've talked about before, things like emptiness, shame, and early wounds from our primary caregivers when we weren't given much attention. Maybe we had a sibling or siblings who got more attention than we did. This can absolutely play into the construction of narcissism as a defensive move. We can also link this to what Winnicott talks about when he talks about the false self. This is what we create when we want to gain approval or avoid pain. The relationships that we have aren't real because we're spending all our time trying to get the approval of someone else that never comes, and so we're left feeling empty. What might be going on for Henry and Liza in this situation? Henry may be defending against feelings of worthlessness or emotional neglect. He's constantly asking for something from Liza, basically for her to fix his problem, yet nothing she ever suggests is enough for him. Every time she offers him a solution, he has a reason why this can't work. So paradoxically, he's keeping himself in the position with a hole in his bucket and getting her attention. It's all about Henry at this point, and the hole in his bucket. He's not thought about what might be going on for Liza. Maybe this is the only way that he learned to get attention or to be validated as a child. Liza seems to accept this though, as she offers a myriad of different solutions, all of which get refused. There are quite probably some dynamics that she's got stuck into. Maybe there's the repetition compulsion, where she's trying to earn love by fixing or helping someone. Maybe she feels guilty for setting boundaries, and that she would be in the wrong if she didn't step in and help him. Let's also have a quick think about some of the misconceptions around narcissism. We often throw the word around, as we do with many psychodynamic terms, and the meaning gets diluted in everyday language and the way that we talk. A bit like ego, which has now become a negative concept, when, in reality, we all have an ego, and we aim for a healthy one. From a psychodynamic perspective, what is actually happening is that narcissism is a complex attempt to protect a very fragile core. It isn't about liking yourself too much. It's about never feeling good enough without that constant reinforcement. Narcissism exists on a spectrum. We all need a bit of narcissism, otherwise we'd get trampled on by other people. It helps us do things and move forwards. Healthy narcissism includes things like confidence, and I don't mean arrogance here, but also things like ambition and pride in our achievements. Narcissistic traits, which I suspect we all have from time to time, especially if we're feeling a bit wobbly, include occasional self-importance or entitlement. Where we move further down the spectrum, we're looking at things such as narcissistic personality structure or disorder, and this is when we're talking about pervasive, rigid patterns that get in the way of relationships and self-awareness. It's really quite tempting to label someone a narcissist, and there might actually be good reason to do so and to hold strong boundaries, but it also might shut down considering a way forward. My thoughts here are to evaluate each case on its own merits. Sometimes the relationship is worth the work and energy put into it to move forwards, and sometimes it isn't. Only you will know that. In the example of Henry and Liza, will Henry be able to recognise the void and how he's trying to fill it? And will Liza step back, stop trying to fix, and reflect on what's keeping her in that loop? Only they will know whether that's possible. My invitation for you this week is for you to consider where in your life you might have been trying to get someone else to keep your bucket full, or patching someone else's bucket with your self-worth. Now, give yourself some grace here. These can be murky waters to paddle around in, and it can be difficult to realise that we might have unwittingly been behaving narcissistically in particular situations. As always, the first step is recognising what's going on, so that you can decide what changes you want to make when you're ready. Looking at ourselves at this level can be challenging and unnerving as we develop our awareness, so I'd always encourage that you do this at your own speed. If you feel you need some extra help around this, then I've put together a PDF resource sheet, and you can find the link for this in the show notes. If you'd like to have a chat with me about psychodynamics, or whether I'm the right coach, trainer, supervisor or mentor for you, then click on the link that's also in the show notes. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Dynamics of Everyday Life. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. As well as producing this podcast, The Dynamics of Everyday Life has lots more psychodynamic fun going on, and you can find out more at dynamicsofeveryday.life.